You feel it in your stomach. That little twist, something just happened that doesn't sit right, but you can't quite name it. It's early, you really like them, and you do want to be the person who ruins a good thing by being paranoid or overdramatic, so you push the feeling down. You tell yourself you're overreacting, but the feeling keeps coming back. Different situations, same twist in your gut. They said something that felt off. They did something that contradicted what they told you before. They reacted to something you needed in a way that made you feel small. Little moments, tiny cracks. Nothing big enough to walk away over. Nothing you can point to and say, this is a problem. Except it is a problem. Your body knows it. That's why you're here, reading this, looking for permission to trust what you're feeling. Looking for confirmation that you're not crazy, that those small things you're noticing actually matter. They do, more than you want to believe, because the red flags that show up in the beginning don't go away. They don't get better. They get worse. And the time you spend ignoring them now is time you regret later when those small cracks become chasms. You told them you don't like when people show up unannounced, and the next week they did it anyway. They laughed it off, said they wanted to surprise you, made you feel uptight for having a boundary in the first place. You let it go because you didn't want to seem difficult, but it bothered you. It still bothers you. Or maybe you said you needed a night to yourself and they guilt-tripped you about it. Not overtly. Just enough. A comment about how they guessed they'll just be alone. A joke about you not wanting to see them. Something that made you question whether asking for space was selfish. So you canceled your plans and saw them anyway. And now you're wondering if you're allowed to have needs in this relationship. You're noticing a pattern. They say they want to take you out, but they cancel last minute. They say they're going to call, but they don't. They make promises that sound good in the moment but never actually materialize. And when you bring it up, they have reasons. Good reasons. Believable reasons. But the fact remains, their words and their actions don't match. You keep making excuses for them. They're busy. They're stressed. They're not used to being in a relationship. They had a hard childhood. They've been hurt before. You're being understanding, patient, giving them the benefit of the doubt. But underneath all that understanding is a quiet voice asking, why are you working this hard for someone you just met? You've started editing yourself around them. You don't tell them when something bothers you because the last time you did, they made you feel like you were being too sensitive. They said you were overreacting. They said it wasn't that serious. They turned it around and somehow you ended up apologizing to them for being upset. So now you're careful. You think before you speak. You monitor your reactions. You're trying to be the cool, easygoing person they seem to want instead of the person you actually are. And it's exhausting. You've only been dating a few weeks or months, and you're already exhausted. Your friends have noticed. They ask how it's going and you find yourself defending them, explaining their behavior, justifying why you're still interested despite the things they've seen or heard. You sound like a lawyer making a case, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that if a relationship requires this much defense this early, something is wrong. But you like them, you really do. When it's good, it's so good. They can be charming, attentive, exactly what you want. Those moments make you think the other stuff is just normal relationship friction. Everyone has flaws, right? No one is perfect. You shouldn't expect perfection. Except you're not asking for perfection. You're asking for basic respect, basic consistency, basic emotional safety. And you're not getting it. You've caught them in small lies. Nothing huge, just little things that don't add up, stories that change, details that contradict. And when you question it, they get defensive. They make you feel paranoid for noticing. They accuse you of not trusting them, so you back off. You stop questioning. But the lies keep coming, and you keep pretending you don't see them. You're already imagining the future, thinking about how you'll help them become better, how your patience and love will heal their wounds, how they'll eventually see your worth and treat you the way you deserve. You're falling in love with their potential, not their reality. And the scariest part, you know better. You've been here before. You've ignored red flags in the past and paid for it later. You promised yourself you wouldn't do this again, that next time you'd trust your gut, that next time you'd walk away early instead of staying too long. But here you are, ignoring your gut, making excuses, hoping things will change, hoping you're wrong, hoping that this time will be different, even though all the signs are telling you it won't be. The red flags you're seeing aren't random. They're patterns, and they're retelling you exactly who this person is and how this relationship will unfold if you stay. The problem is you're interpreting them as anomalies instead of information. You think they're exceptions when they're actually the rule. Let's talk about the 3 red flags that matter most in a new relationship. The ones that predict future pain. The ones you cannot afford to ignore. Red flag 1. They don't respect your boundaries, even the small ones. Boundaries are the foundation of healthy relationships. How someone responds to your boundaries in the beginning tells you everything about how they'll treat you long term. When you set a boundary, even a small one, and they ignore it, dismiss it, or violate it, they're telling you that their wants matter more than your needs. This isn't about them forgetting once. This is about a pattern of pushing past your limits, showing up when you asked for space, calling when you said you'd text, pressuring you physically when you said you want to go slow, making jokes at your expense after you said it hurts you, sharing information you asked them to keep private. Each violation seems small, forgivable, not worth making a big deal over. But here's what's actually happening. They're testing how much they can get away with. They're training you to accept disrespect. They're establishing a dynamic where your boundaries are negotiable and their desires are non-negotiable. This is what psychologists call boundary erosion. It happens gradually, one small violation at a time. You let the first one go, then the second. By the time you realize your boundaries have been completely dismantled, you're months or years in, and the pattern is entrenched. People who respect your boundaries the first time you set them. They don't need to be told twice. They don't make you feel guilty for having limits. They don't test or push or see how far they can go. They just respect you. If someone won't do that in the beginning when they were supposed to be on their best behavior, they never will. Red flag 2. Their words and actions consistently don't match. This is the inconsistency you've been noticing. They say one thing and do another. They make promises they don't keep. They tell you you're important to them, but they don't act like it. They say they want a relationship, but they behave like someone who wants something casual. This inconsistency creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Your brain is trying to reconcile 2 conflicting pieces of information, what they're re-saying versus what they're redoing. And because you want to believe the best, you give more weight to their words. You believe their promises. You trust their intentions. But actions are the truth. Words are just noise. Anyone can say anything. It costs nothing to make promises. But following through, showing up, doing what you said you'd do, that requires integrity. And if they don't have integrity now, in the beginning when they're trying to impress you, they definitely won't have it later. The inconsistency serves a purpose. It keeps you off balance. You never quite know where you stand. One day they're all in, the next they're distant. One moment they're making plans for next month, the next they can't commit to this weekend. This inconsistency creates anxiety in you, and anxiety creates attachment. When someone is unpredictable, your brain goes into hypervigilance mode. You become obsessed with figuring them out, earning their consistency, becoming secure enough for them to fully choose you. But their inconsistency isn't about you not being enough. It's about them telling you exactly who they are. Unreliable. If someone tells you they'll call and they don't, believe the action, not the promise. If someone says you matter but they consistently deprioritize you, believe the deprioritization. If someone says they want exclusivity but they're still active on dating apps, believe the apps. They're showing you who they are. Stop listening to their words and start watching their behavior. Red flag 3. They make you feel like you're too much or too sensitive. This is the most insidious one because it makes you doubt your own reality. You express a need, a feeling, a concern, and instead of them addressing it, they make you feel wrong for having it. You're too needy, too emotional, too dramatic, too insecure, too demanding, too much. This is called invalidation, and it's a form of emotional manipulation. When someone invalidates your feelings, they're refusing to take accountability for their behavior. They're reshifting the focus from what they did to what's wrong with you for reacting to it. If you say it hurt me when you canceled our plans last minute and they respond with you being too sensitive, it's not a big deal. They've just told you that your feelings don't matter, that their impact on you is irrelevant, that you need to adjust your emotional responses instead of them adjusting their behavior. This trains you to stop expressing your needs. You learn that bringing up issues leads to you being criticized, so you stop bringing them up. You swallow your hurt. You minimize your needs. You gaslight yourself into thinking you're the problem, and that's exactly what they want. Healthy partners don't make you feel bad for having feelings. They don't dismiss your pain. They don't tell you you're overreacting. They listen. They take accountability. They adjust their behavior when they learn it hurts you. They make you feel heard, not diminished. If someone is making you feel like you're too much in the beginning, it will only get worse. You'll spend the entire relationship shrinking yourself, walking on eggshells, apologizing for having needs. That's not love, that's erasure. You're reading this because you're hoping for a different answer. You're hoping there's a way to make this work, a way to address these red flags and fix them, a way to communicate better so they'll understand and change. But here's what you need to hear. Red flags in the beginning are not problems to solve, they're information to act on. The beginning of a relationship is when people are on their best behavior. They're trying to impress you. They're showing you the most polished version of themselves. If they're already disrespecting your boundaries, being inconsistent, and invalidating your feelings when they're supposed to be trying to win you over, what do you think happens when they get comfortable? It gets worse, not better, worse. You cannot love someone into respecting you. You cannot communicate someone into being consistent. You cannot be understanding enough that they stop invalidating your feelings. These are character issues, not communication issues. And character doesn't change because you're patient or forgiving or accommodating. The healthiest thing you can do when you see these red flags is walk away. Not with drama. Not with a big confrontation. Just a clear, firm boundary. This isn't working for me. I'm not interested in continuing. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to prove your case. You don't need to give them a chance to argue or promise to change. You just need to trust yourself enough to leave when your gut is telling you to. And your gut is telling you to. That's why you're here. That's why you're researching red flags. That's why you feel anxious and uncertain and like something is off. Your intuition is screaming at you. Stop ignoring it. The right person won't make you question your reality. They won't push your boundaries. They won't say one thing and do another. They won't make you feel like you're too much. They'll make you feel safe, respected, heard, valued, and you won't have to work for that. It'll just be how they are. Because people who are emotionally healthy and ready for a relationship don't play games. They don't test you. They don't make you prove your worth. They just show up consistently and treat you well. Stop giving chances to people who show you they don't deserve them. Stop making excuses for behavior that makes you uncomfortable. Stop hoping someone will change into who you need them to be. They're already showing you who they are. Believe them. Walking away from a new relationship that has red flags isn't giving up. It's having standards. It's valuing yourself enough to refuse to participate in your own mistreatment. It's choosing your peace over your hope that someone will become different. You're allowed to leave for any reason. You're allowed to say this doesn't feel right without having concrete proof of wrongdoing. You're allowed to trust your discomfort. You're allowed to protect yourself from people who haven't earned your trust yet. The early stages of dating are an audition. You're both showing each other who you are and deciding if you want to continue. If they're showing you red flags, they're failing the audition. You don't hire someone who fails the interview and hope they'll be great at the job. Don't ignore red flags hoping they'll turn into green lights. They won't. They'll just become deal breakers you wish you'd paid attention to sooner. Red flags don't disappear. They multiply. The behavior you accept in the beginning becomes the baseline for the entire relationship. And you cannot build a healthy relationship on a foundation of disrespect, inconsistency, and invalidation. Trust your gut. It's not being paranoid. It's being protected. And you deserve to be protected, even if that means protecting yourself from someone you really like. The right relationship won't feel like this. It won't require you to ignore your instincts or explain away bad behavior. It'll feel solid, consistent, safe. If this gave you the clarity or the permission you needed, we're here every week having these conversations. The real ones. The hard ones. Subscribe to keep going. You're not asking for too much. You're just finally learning to expect what you deserve. And that's everything.